Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to another episode of Truth Talks. And in this episode, we are featuring Kassidi. And Kassidi has been a client for a while now. We actually did an initial kind of body recomposition phase where we dropped a little bit of body fat and added some shape. And then now we are reversing food up and going into a more building phase, kind of a lean building phase with going for some strength and muscle gain as well. So Kassidi gives a lot of awesome insights in this episode. She talks about how she balanced a very social summer while still crushing her fitness goals, and then some other scheduling things and some other mindset things that she employs in order to be successful in this process. So we're very proud of her and her progress so far, and I hope you enjoy this episode. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Truth Talks. Today, I am here with our client, Kassidi. Kassidi, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty solid. Pretty solid. What's new and exciting in your life?
Not too much. Looking forward to a long weekend and having a few days off work and spending time with the family, but otherwise just working the usual.
Right on, right on. Well, you've had a pretty cool fitness journey, and I was in it since what chapter? When did we start? When was the starting point? We started now.
I don't know if it was April, May.
April or May.
So yeah.
Springtime.
I think the end of April, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you attended our one of our seminars, our nutrition seminar, right?
Yep.
Then we started after that. So that's awesome. So I want to talk a little bit before we even talk about like the chapter of time that we worked together. I want to break down like even the initial starting points of your fitness journey. I know you've been pretty active for most of your life. So maybe walk us through like how do you get into an active lifestyle and like how did you kind of kickstart your journey with fitness?
Right. That's actually a question that people always ask me, and like, how do I stay motivated and like get into the gym? But it's just always been a part of my lifestyle. I was pretty much like raised that way. Like my mom always did like aerobics or had like, there was always a treadmill in the house, and she did her yoga, more video oriented like programs. She was never a gym girl, didn't like the public setting. But yeah, I was just brought up to be like active, always on the go, doing stuff. They introduced us to different sports, so like through sports, and then I ended up coming back to it as just I like more solo, like personal things, like working on myself in a different manner that way rather than like sports.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just always been more active. So yeah, it just started with home stuff like that, and then in high school started going to the gym, like an actual LA Fitness actually, and then found things online about how to actually work out. And then I thought I wanted to go into like a health and fitness program, which I didn't, but my sister ended up into that. So she's also helped me like teach me stuff along the way. And then, yeah, it's just like, I'm not the same without it. It's just a part of me now, keeps me sane and mentally on a good track, and just gives me energy. I find, like I always tell people, if you're feeling like tired and you don't want to do it, you'll feel so much better after doing it, even if that's just a walk. Just you create energy through it kind of thing. So yeah.
I like that. That's really cool. So you kind of found more of a passion for the solo type journey rather than the team sports, and that's why like fitness was a good draw, because you could have work on like your own journey type thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you start getting more into lifting, what were some challenges, I guess, that you faced kind of before, if you're just doing videos or whatever, like when you started getting a bit more specific with things, like were there any challenges or struggles that you had kind of getting into the gym?
In the gym, kind of obviously just being around other people and wondering, are they judging me? Are they watching what I'm doing? Am I doing this right? That kind of thing, or like seeing other people and their physique and saying, I want to look like them. Like, how do I do that? And seeing things in the media, all that kind of thing, and just constantly comparing. But I would say the most difficult thing with just like going through fitness and trying to get to certain points on my own was just boredom too. I would just get bored of doing the same thing. So I often would switch it up. Like I got into a bit of boxing at one point, or like tried different programs and different styles of working out, whether it was like more Pilates and bar based, or if it was like heavier lifting or more, like cardio. So I've just always changed it up. which I think it's important to have a bit of everything. But yeah, just getting bored of doing the same thing and being like, where is this going to go in the long term kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe like a little bit of lack of direction kind of thing, you say? Okay.
Yeah.
And then how did you, I guess we'll touch on 2 points. So then how did you get over first, like the comparison and the, fear of like other people looking at you and stuff like that? Like, how do you first get over that specifically?
Just realizing that personally, when I was there, I wasn't there looking at anyone else in that way or judging them by any means. If anything, I'm like claps for all these people in here right now,
Yeah.
like just working at it, like no matter what, and just zoning in on yourself and knowing that the only reason you should be there is for yourself and no one else. And who cares what anyone else thinks also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. That's awesome. That's a really good mindset to have. And then in terms of like adding direction and being able to stick with like one, I guess, goal or style of training more specific for an extended period of time, how did you get over that like perception of boredom or stuff like that?
Well, it would normally be by just like changing it up, getting into a new rhythm, which would always bring me back to like weight training, like more gym based stuff in the end. Or just changing some movements here and there, or looking into different programs. Or it's been great just working with you and just having someone to like guide me. And I think I just got sick of like making a plan for myself. Like, yeah, it's more fun if someone else is kind of there with you.
I agree. I'm the same way. So you would say like in the interim period before we start working together, so you were kind of like building your own programs with what you knew and still going to like LA Fitness, or that's when you were starting at the home gym now, like before we started working together?
Yeah, it was LA. And then when I was in college, it was the gym there. Through COVID, it was more body weight, like HIIT, running, biking, lots of walking at home. And then there was periods where I got really into hot yoga too, which love that. I miss it. But yeah, there's just kind of periods where I'm like, oh, I want to give this a try or give that a try. So yeah.
So you've kind of done it all then. Yes.
Why
That's
not?
cool. That's awesome. And then kind of what was your mindset going in to like maybe, we've taken things a little bit more seriously and maybe tracked a few more variables than you otherwise would have. So like, what was your mindset going into that process of like getting a little bit more specific with like tracking certain things in both like nutrition and the training side of things? Like, how did that feel? Was it kind of daunting or something that you wanted, or,
Yeah. So it definitely like came to the point where I was like, I definitely need the support because I can only do so much on my own when like I have a full-time job. Like you think you can teach yourself and learn things online, but there's only so much, like when you have so much other stuff going on, what exactly you need. And it just gets frustrating when, I've had an active lifestyle forever. And then maybe I wouldn't see results that I necessarily wanted to see, or I didn't exactly know, what should I be eating? Like how much, what's proper for my activity and all that. And I also needed that extra push because sometimes, like Paris was saying to me earlier, you don't realize your strength until like you try to increase something. So it's definitely good having that aid there. I forget what your other question was. And I guess just feeling like vulnerable, because then there is someone there kind of like watching you, and it's like you have to stay on track to a certain extent. Like you're not hard on me, but just like knowing that there is someone there now that is seeing your progression, and just to but it is helpful. But it was a bit more of a vulnerable position.
Yeah, I mean, it's that extra layer of accountability, right? That's like, it's kind of like the way I see it is like, would you do your homework if the teacher wasn't checking your homework? That's the kind of, most people probably wouldn't do their homework, and in terms of fitness journey, a lot of people don't do their homework, right? But it's nice, and I'm the same way too. It's like, I know, okay, my coach is going to see all my stuff, so it's like, okay, I'm probably going to be 20% more on point than otherwise would be, right? So that's cool. And I think you've done a really good job at like routine building and like habit building throughout this. So walk us through maybe some of the lifestyle things that have really served you well when we did kind of crank things up a notch.
So especially because Paris and I trained through like the start of the summer and then all through the summer, more social months. I have a pretty social life. So just learning how to manage that and getting some tips and tricks and having you at my, like, right there if I needed to ask you something or question anything. But then also knowing that it's not like the end of the world, like it's not the be all or end all if it's like one day here and there, but also just knowing, yeah, there is someone here like holding me accountable and makes you want to strive for that and reach those goals, which is nice. You don't just have yourself telling you like, oh, it's fine, just give up. Like you don't need
Right.
this. It's like someone else is there, which is good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you definitely did have a social summer. And like speaking maybe a bit more specifically on the strategies, like what were maybe one or two strategies that you implemented that kind of allowed you to, hey, I'm also crushing my fitness goals, but I'm also like enjoying a really awesome summer with my, my partner, friends, and family and stuff.
Yeah. So I think planning ahead was the biggest one. So both nutrition and like exercise, workouts, whatnot.
Okay.
So mainly nutrition, just if you know you're going out for a meal or you're having this that day, like kind of inputting that into your like nutrition breakdown at the beginning of the day and then working around it, I always found was good.
Okay.
Same thing with the week ahead with your workouts. If you know you're busy on the weekend and or you're away and you're not going to get your workouts in, plan on how you're going to fit them in through the week. Yeah, so it was always just like planning ahead and just knowing in advance that helped me the most. And then you see if you have some free time for other things or free time in the day or free space for more food.
Yeah, absolutely. And you work out pretty early in the morning too, right?
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people maybe would think that's like, tough to do, but I think because it seems like it's such a habit for you now.
Mm-hmm.
And that also allowed you more flexibility in the evenings and more flexibility to do social things because it's already done. So I think that was something that I noticed is probably part of your success, because if you leave it to later in the day, you start hanging out with people or whatever, and you just miss it.
Yeah.
So you planned it ahead, you get it done early right away, and you're off, right?
Yeah, that's part of it that motivates me to get up at 5 a.m. and do it, is because if I'm going away for the weekend, I know I have to fit those workouts in during the week. And if I don't do it in the morning, I might not get the chance to in the evening, or I won't have the energy for it. So I'm like, well, in the morning, I'm like, okay, you have to get up, you have to do this, because if you don't do it, then you're not going to get your workouts in for the week. So yeah, which actually happened to me this week. I was like, okay, just get up, keep going. You're going to have a weekend of rest. It's going to be great.
There you go.
All done.
You need those little things to like look forward to, right, in the back of your mind, which is awesome. Which I think you're good at using your weekends to like escape a bit from work and stuff and like enjoy it, right? So I think that's really important. And what would you say is maybe like from the first thing from the training front, like what was one thing that was maybe unexpected learning through the process that we've done so far?
I never knew how to program for myself, because you'd read things about, like, I don't know, time under tension or changing up your rep ranges or your rest time and all those things that you're supposed to manipulate throughout your fitness journey to challenge your body. So just like learning about those different sets and how each set will go and different reps, and um, like knowing when Paris gives me a higher rep range, that, okay, well, I'm not going to be at my heaviest then. And just how much it fluctuates and how much it actually has, like, there's a reason for it. It has a purpose, and that's how you get results, kind of thing. But just, yeah, being able to follow through with that and not having to figure it out on my own, which is good.
Yeah. So like training variables and programming type stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That definitely makes sense. It's kind of like I think of like programming as almost like a puzzle that you're trying to solve based on the person, the equipment they have, their goals, their proportions, like all that. And you manipulate volume, frequency, intensity, and like, rep ranges and rest times and exercise selections. Like there's a list of things you just kind of manipulate. But once you kind of know your body and you have a lot of experience with like multiple training blocks, then I feel like you start to get in a good rhythm, which is cool as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same question for nutrition, like maybe what was one like learning that you didn't expect or anticipate throughout, or biggest takeaways from like nutrition tracking?
Just that, just don't have to be as hard on yourself as you think you do. And I really liked the idea. I always keep it in my mind of like the 80-20 kind of on a daily basis. Like, don't give yourself like a cheat day or anything like that. Just like have a good layout of every day. And then maybe that 20% is not as like good whole food, like as great as you want it to be, but it can fit in there without being like damaging, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So making the foods that you enjoy like fit into your macro totals and like into your day of eating type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. I just actually filmed a reel on that. I'll be posting in a few days. But yeah, it's perfect. It's very line. That's awesome. And I think in terms of like what we've able to achieve, I think we definitely got some really good like rhythm with training and some great performance benefits. And like we did tons of form analysis, which is awesome. It's great workout at home because it's a lot easier to do some filming. So we've done lots of good stuff for that. But I think like in my mind, what we did was a little bit of like a recomp phase at the beginning, and just focused a lot on process. And, you know, obviously we saw us get a little bit leaner, and we did, you know, our body weight did slowly climb down a little bit in a methodical way. So that was kind of cool. And then now we've actually been slowly working up the food, which is the other direction. So I think it would be, I know we've talked about, but I think it'd be important for the listeners to maybe hear of like, you know, the mindset of when it's time to bring food back up and like overcoming that fear, because it's very relatable, I think, for a lot of people, like coming out of the diet, like how you feel then.
Yeah. So it's definitely scary. And yeah, it's a hard mindset to switch from like, oh, I went from eating this smaller amount to like, oh, now I'm supposed to eat more. And yeah, it definitely caused a little bit of like unsureness. And but it definitely does show like you need that food for better output of energy, to progress in that way. And it doesn't mean, like Paris has reminded me before, that you can like indulge and like eat like crap food. Like, you're still eating good food and maintaining like a healthy nutrition balance, but just upping things in certain areas. So yeah, even for carbohydrates, I know sometimes people are scared of like carbs, but if anything, and I definitely am too, because I'm always struggling to eat. I'm like, oh, I got to get my carbs up. What can I eat? Just looking for any sort of fruit possible. But yeah, it's definitely scary, but the proof is in the pudding.
Exactly.
It works.
Yeah. And then once you kind of see like, oh, okay, nothing like crazy happened, I just immediately a little bit more food. I think where people go wrong, and what I was saying to you in your check-in, is like people think it's like an on and off switch between like I'm either dieting and getting leaner, or I'm like just going back to like normal eating. And you have to keep a lot of the same habits. This is the key thing: keeping a lot of the same habits and routines and behaviors that you've had, even fat loss phase or recomp phase, whatever. In when you start eating more food, you just get more food, right? And it gives you a little bit more of a buffer. And then also understanding that you cannot gain body fat if you're not in like a surplus, right? So like you can't be afraid of fat gain if like we're not jumping into a calorie surplus. So that's another thing. But and then, you know, we're trying to really just put the key focus on performing and fueling. And I think that's it's good to learn that as well, and learn that like, hey, this is how you fuel properly, and this is how we perform, and that's how we're gonna like add shape. And the goal is to slowly kind of work up your calories as well, for the next little while too. So that's good. I maybe be talking a little bit more to like any female listeners. Maybe some things that you often hear like women say, whether about lifting or fitness in general, that you feel like they should either like info that they should not listen to, or beliefs they have that they need to overcome. Do you have any of those that are top of mind?
Well, that every body is different and everyone has their own individual needs. And honestly, like, it has helped so much having someone like help me through that. And I would definitely recommend getting someone on your side in that, because we can't figure it out for ourselves, and we can't trust everything we hear or see in the media about this specific diet that works for everyone when it doesn't. And everyone's just totally different. Our lifestyles are all different. And in terms of like the fitness aspect, like, people are worried, I don't know, getting bulky, that kind of thing, which, yeah, is obviously not true. Unless you wanted to get bulky, then sure, I'm sure that could happen. But there's also a way to not let that happen and still increase your weight. Yeah, like, I was lifting heavier than I had before in a more like strategic and strict manner, and I was leaner than I was before. So yeah, it all just balances out.
say it for the people in the back. The lifting does not make you bulky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still hear that every once in a while, like,
Yeah.
I still got a job to do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. I like that. And then, you know, I like to talk, I won't keep you too much longer, but I like to talk about maybe some mindset things that people need to have in order to like really click in. Cause there's a lot of people that put off their goals for a long period of time, or maybe are kind of in the gym and not really doing things, not really seeing the progress they want. So like, what mindset switch do you need to have to start like, okay, I'm ready, like correct level of readiness to like start taking things seriously and have more direction and specificity with what I'm doing? What do you think somebody who's kind of avoiding taking things more seriously should hear?
Don't wait for like a specific point in time, like a new year, like a resolution or a new week or anything like that. Just start now and like start small. If you overwhelm yourself and like go from like 0 to 100, that's not maintainable. You're not going to be able to like hold that for a long period of time. If you automatically just off a switch, change your diet, change your workout routine, you're going to burn out super quick. So just be easy on yourself, be kind to yourself, and like listen to your body. Yeah. And always, look for other potentially a coach that could help you if you get into that. But also it's just a long-term thing for me. Like just living an active life, like exercising, fitness, eating well. That's just like life, like that's long-term. So don't think of it as I want to look a certain way. Just think of how you want to feel when like 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road. That too is like a big part of it. So don't just get lost in tunnel vision of like your ideal. Just think of it as it's a marathon, not a sprint.
I love that. It's like, something that one of our other clients, Banane, says is like, your fitness journey is not a phase.
Yes.
Which I really like. And we're trying to build like lifestyle integration, which I think is what you're getting at, right? It's like integrating things as part of a lifestyle. And you hear that, it's like, oh yeah, it's your lifestyle, whatever. But like actually though, right? And as you said, like visualize yourself in 20 years, you really start to see the difference between people that kind of take care of themselves and eat well and train and stay active versus not. And I don't know about you, but like when I'm older, I still want to be able to, if I have kids, play with the kids, or still feel strong and still feel active and like represent, something like a good marker of health for everybody in my circle, right? And lead by example. So it's not just right now because it's easier for us to say because we're younger, but like we're going to get old. We can't beat time, right?
No, that's true.
That's awesome, Cassie. I like that. Some good insights. Is there any other things that you think are valuable to share, or anything that you feel like you want to share with the audience?
Nothing too much. Just if you're debating it or thinking about it, just like now is the time. There's no good time for anything. So just start now.
Love it. Very inspirational. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you, Ferris.